各位傳媒朋友，早晨。近日特區政府公布嘅一啲經濟數據
Now, the government has recently announced some statistics on our economy, and it clearly shows that we are now in challenging situation. Yesterday, for instance, we announced that in October this year, the total retail sales volume has dropped by 4.3%, which is historic high as compared to the same period last year. And then our unemployment rate now is at 3.1%. We believe that this rate will go up as many sectors have been affected. So the SAR government will be working very hard to monitor the situation and introduce relief measures so we are able to support businesses, keep jobs, and offer relief to the public. So I'm announcing here that very soon we'll be launching the 4th round of relief measures. You might recall that in August, September, and October this year, the SAR government has launched 3 rounds of relief measures using about $20 billion. Now, in the rest of this year and the coming year, we expect that there will be a deficit, fiscal deficit. But this is exactly the time when we should make good use of the wealth we have accrued to help the public. So I've asked the secretaries of departments and directors of bureau to give full support to the police force because our first priority is to stop violence and restore peace. And if there are certain sectors under their policy area that are facing difficulties, we must also offer relief to them. Recently, I've received a letter from some electrical members that certain sectors have experienced particular difficulties. Now, we will look at each and every case, and using the approach I just mentioned, we'll review these cases so that for those who are affected, including individuals and businesses, they will be offered immediate relief. So now the floor is open to questions. Yes. Good morning, Mrs. Lam. I'm from TVB. I would like to ask about the Democracy and Human Rights Act. The U.S., China has already announced countermeasures that is sanctioning 5 organizations. These organizations also work in Hong Kong, so what is the government going to do about it? And secondly, what is the concrete impact of the act on Hong Kong? Yesterday, Mr. Paul Chen, Financial Secretary, said that it will affect our technological sector. So do you have any measures to do with that? And third question is Teresa Chang, the Secretary for Justice, back to Hong Kong. When is she going to go back to work? Thank you. Now first, about the Hong Kong Human Rights and Freedom Act that's been signed by the President of the United States. We are totally against it. We don't see any need for it, and we don't see any justification for it. Human rights and freedoms of are protected by the basic law here in Hong Kong. In fact, I would like to ask, in which way have our freedoms of the Hong Kong people been undermined? Now we have freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, religious freedom. We enjoy high degree of freedoms in many areas. So there is an overseas parliament and an overseas government that's interfered with Hong Kong affairs, and that is most regrettable. Now, since the act has been passed, and you asked what the Central People's Government would do and how is the Hong Kong SAR government affected. Now, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs announced 2 sanction measures. First of all, U.S. warships applications to visit Hong Kong will no longer be considered. Now, all along this has been a foreign matter. Usually it's for the Central People's Government to give permission before the Hong Kong SAR government follows up on that. So this is for the U.S. carriers to come to Hong Kong to take a break, and it's always been the case that the Central People's Government will first grant approval, and then we follow up. And since there won't be any approval, so we won't follow up. As for the sanctions against certain organizations, I haven't got the full information yet. But as I said, this is again a matter of foreign affairs. So in Hong Kong, we will follow the law in supporting the Central People's Government and following up on the measures they take. Now, as to how this act would affect Hong Kong, is for the relevant government departments in the United States in terms of the approach they would adopt, because the U.S. government will have to do certain reviews after the act is passed. So it's up to how the government conducts that, how the U.S. government conducts that review or examination. Now, to us, of course, there will be an impact, as you mentioned. This is an overseas, a foreign government taking such a measure. For now, it undermines confidence. It creates an unstable or uncertain environment because businesses will be concerned. Now, if the U.S. government uses the act to carry out certain action, what those actions would be. So that's the concern of businesses. And I noticed that all major chambers of commerce have expressed strong opposition to the act. In fact, American businesses would be affected too by the act. As you know, American businesses account for a big portion in Hong Kong. There are over 1,300 U.S. businesses in Hong Kong, and most of them aren't just a company as such. They are the regional headquarters stationed in Hong Kong. So would certain sectors be affected in terms of the developments? For example, the technological sector. Well, at the moment, we cannot do the assessment yet, but of course, it's undermining confidence and it's creating uncertainty, and that won't bode well for any economic development. A third point, the Secretary for Justice is still taking sick leave. It's her privacy, so I'm not at liberty to disclose any more. Thank you of that. Thank you. I'm from RTHK, Mrs. Lam. For the Sunday protests. Now, after the district council elections, there was peace for about a week, and then many more people again took to the street, and they still insisted on the 5 demands. So what is your view on that? And then some time ago, the Central People's Government commented on certain court rulings. So what is your view on that? Would you say that no organization should really interfere too much with court rulings? Thank you. Now, I was here last week to express my wish, and I'm sure that is the wish of most people in Hong Kong, that is a few days before and after the district council, there was a period of about 10 days of peace and calm, and we would like that to continue. I was saying that I hope it was not just because of the district council elections that happened. Now, and as I said, we don't want our economy to suffer further blow, and we don't want people's livelihood to be further affected, so we must go back to peace and calm. There must be no violence. But unfortunately, in the past weekend, on Sunday and also Saturday, in Kowloon, again we saw road obstruction, arson, and showing of petrol bombs that we've seen in the past few months. Now, the police exercised great restraint, but they had no choice but to deploy tear gas again. So we're seeing such violent scenes, which are something we don't really want to see anymore. So that's why in my opening address, I said I hope we could find a way to stop the violence, so there is a chance for our economy to come back, but it seems that that hope is dashed. So I hope very much that violence will stop as soon as possible. for judicial reviews, and there are some central organizations from central government saying certain things. While I've already responded to those comments, while I appreciate that they have certain concerns about certain cases, but in Hong Kong we're still standing firm by one country, two systems and the rule of law. And one important element of rule of law is an independent judiciary, and that is the position we stand firm by. Thank you.
Well, I've responded many times on the demands. I have nothing to add at this point.
Gentleman at the back.
Mrs. Lam, you said you were going to set up an independent review committee to look into the causes. But that's not what people have been asking for almost 6 months now. It's clear that so many people, at least the 2 million people on the streets back in June, they wanted to have an independent commission of inquiry to look into the police handling of the protests as well as the causes of the unrest. In fact, the international expert panel of the IPCC already said that the IPCC itself lacks the power to conduct a rigorous inquiry into the policing of the protests. You said you wanted to find a way out of the crisis, so why not try listening to the people? And what's stopping you from doing what so many people have so sincerely wanted you to do over the past 6 months?
Well, first of all, it has been some time ago that I announced that we would invite a group of community leaders and academia and experts to independently look into the causes of this prolonged social unrest, including the underlying deep-seated problems that have been bothering Hong Kong. So what I said perhaps in more explicit terms last Tuesday was the idea of inviting these people to form themselves into an independent review committee. And this independent review committee will look into the causes, which was the first part of your question, of the social unrest, and come up with recommendations for the government, because we don't want to see the recurrence of this social disturbance in future. So we have to tackle not only the phenomenon, but also the underlying causes. As far as the investigation into the police, the well-established mechanism is to use the IPCC to look into those allegations and complaints. And this time the IPCC has chosen or has taken the initiative to conduct a thematic fact-finding study into the more significant incidents that have caused a lot of public concern. By now, the IPCC has already worked for 5 months now. I think the best way is for the IPCC to complete its finding and for society to examine the findings and have a good discussion on the outcome of the IPCC report.
Last question, the lady in the black jacket. From C1 News Agency, yesterday the Financial Secretary Pong Chen mentioned that as of the next March financial year, the government may have a budget deficit the first time in 15 years. And how would the government address this to improve the economy and environment? And what is the prerequisite? And just mentioned that the government would launch a fourth round of relief measures. And can you reveal which direction it will take?
Yesterday,
the Financial Secretary had already announced that within this financial year, there will inevitably be a budget deficit. That's the first time in 15 years. The SL government last time had a deficit was back in 2003 and 4, which means that over the past decade we accumulated quite a healthy reserve, roughly at about $1.1 trillion. So this is the time for us to tap into our financial capability to offer relief to the public and hopefully to help the enterprise and to save the jobs. That's very critical. As for how do we cope with the challenges, but first we hope to have the economy to go back to normal. But this time what we're facing We have the whammy of externality and internal environment. The external environment, there will be silent U.S. trade dispute, and also the external uncertainty since the Hong Kong is an outward economy. Thus, we're bound to be affected. As for the domestic problem, for over the past 6 months, there will have some social disturbances. Thus, I sincerely hope that every Hong Konger must cherish our heart-built lifestyle and should not undermine such substantive violence will still our top priority. At the same time, keep expanding our trade capability. For example, on last Friday, I went to Bangkok for a day to reach a high level memorandum of understanding with Thai government, and also convene a meeting with the Prime Minister of Thailand and help the Hong Kong companies and Hong Kong professionals to ASEAN to open new markets. So even though we are facing strong headwinds, however, this will continue. As for your question, on the 4th round of relief measures, well, we've launched 3 rounds in August, September, and October. I will let the Financial Secretary to announce it very shortly. Well, and for the methods and the approach will be targeted. We want to see which sector and which kind of companies that in extraordinary difficulty that we will provide them with some relief measures which hopefully could address the current problems. Thank you all.